So far, in terms of my smartwatch experiences, I've only really been dabbling with Wear OS, and you know what? That's kind of limiting. So I thought to myself, why not find out or, have other experiences with other smartwatches as well. And okay, if you know me, you know that I don't like spending a lot on my technology, or rather I like to have devices which offer a really good price to performance ratio. So when I saw that Xiaomi launched a new watch under their sub-brand Huami, I didn't really hesitate to go and check it out. Because of that, what I have in front with me here today is the Amazfit GTS, a $125 smartwatch that honestly comes in at a really interesting price point, because this makes it exactly the same price as the first smartwatch that I ever reviewed on this channel, which was the TicWatch E, and I loved that watch. So, how does the Amazfit GTS smartwatch stack up against the competition? Let's find out. So my Amazfit GTS just arrived in the mail, and so I'm unboxing it at the same time as you guys are seeing it. The package that it came in was a bit crushed and banged up, but I'm really glad to see that the box itself isn't damaged at all. It would be a shame because this is actually quite a nice looking box that looks quite stylish, but it's wrapped in shrink wrap. So let me get my trusty blade and kind of go over the edges and open it. We slide the main box out of the sleeve, and then we see a pure white box with the Amazfit logo, and the ISO on my camera is just a bit high here. Give me a sec. Yeah, so I'm just going to drop it a little bit. And so you can see this better. Yeah, I think that looks better. The box wasn't that hard to open. All I had to do was just shake it a little, and then I could easily pull the lid off. The first thing that we see, of course, is the Amazfit GTS smartwatch, and it's looking pretty good, but let's see what else we have in the box. Lifting up the bottom layer, and we see nothing. But here we have an openable compartment, and we find two things: a manual, and that's unfortunately in Chinese, and a charging puck. Not too bad, pretty basic as far as included accessories go, but I'm pretty sure that's all you need for a smartwatch. Alright, so now let's have a look at the Amazfit GTS specs, but first a little pew porn. Yeah, that was nice. Now I tried looking online, and there was absolutely no information whatsoever as to what processor the GTS uses, and not only that, there was no information as well as to how much RAM or ROM it has. So unfortunately, I can't really give you guys any information about these. What I can tell you, however, is that it has a 1.65-inch square Super AMOLED display with 2.5D edges and a screen resolution of 348 by 442, and is made of Gorilla Glass 3. That screen resolution at that display size gives it a pixel density of 341 pixels per square inch, and Huami calls this an Ultra Retina display, which is something that I feel was pulled off Apple. I don't know, I'm just saying. But it does have a 100% NTSC color gamut accuracy. It runs on a custom proprietary OS made by Huami and works with any Android phone, Lollipop and above, and iOS devices with iOS 10 and above. There is unfortunately no evidence of any Wi-Fi chip being on board, but it does have Bluetooth 5.0 LE, which stands for low energy, a 6-axis accelerometer, a 3-axis geomagnetic sensor, a pressure sensor, and an ambient light sensor. It also has an NFC card reader, GPS plus GLONASS dual star positioning, a PPG bio-tracking optical sensor, a 220 mAh battery, and all of that is in a body that is tested for up to 5 atmosphere of waterproofing. So yeah, you can take it with you swimming or whatever. It's not just swimming that Huami says it can track though, as it can also do outdoor running, indoor aka treadmill running, walking, outdoor cycling, indoor cycling, swimming in open waters, swimming in pools, elliptical machines, hiking, trail running, skiing, and even gym workouts. So whatever you're doing, you should be pretty much covered. On that note of the body, I've got to say that it looks pretty nice, and obviously it's not just the display but also the body that looks very Apple Watch inspired. The main body of the watch itself is made of aerospace grade aluminum alloy as well, so it should be pretty resistant to everyday abuse. The model that I have here is Obsidian Black, but you can also get it in red, Dolphin Grey, Desert Gold, Powder Rose, and Glacier Blue. In terms of dimensions, you're looking at 36mm in width excluding the crown, 43mm in length excluding the hinges, and 11mm in thickness including the optical sensor. That thickness though was the first thing that caught my eye because it is much slimmer and smaller than any of the other smartwatches that I own, and the screen to body ratio together with that 2.5D curved screen makes the watch look really good. These straps that came with this watch are made of silicone, which is much better than rubber that in my experience is prone to cracking and breaking over time, and are of 20mm in width and are user replaceable, so yeah, you know what? If you have any spare 20mm watch straps lying around, you can always use that on this watch. A very good example of this is me being able to use the very same watch straps that I had for my TicWatch E on this Amazfit GTS, which meant that I could easily reuse my favorite watch straps from before. Looking at this watch from behind, you can see the optical heart rate sensor and of course the 2 contact points for charging the watch. Speaking of charging, the charging cable is of 82mm in length and of course is magnetic and doesn't hesitate to snap onto the body of the watch. What I like about this charging puck as well is that it's not very big and obtrusive, unlike another one that I have, hint hint E2. But let's move on to actually using the watch. Powering on the watch for the first time, what I'm greeted with is a QR code. Okay, sure, no problem. Let me just scan this QR code. Oh, it's asking me to download the Chinese version of the Amazfit app. Yeah, let's not do that. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to head into the Play Store and download the Amazfit app from there instead. After the installation is done, I signed in with my Xiaomi account, tapped on the little plus button on the top right corner, tapped on watch, and well yeah, the Amazfit GTS shows up here as well, so I tap on that and I use the built-in QR scanner to scan the QR code on my watch. I had to wait for a bit as it was pairing, and I had to tap accept on my watch that one time to accept the pairing, and from there the application restored any previous settings that I had on any of my previous synced Xiaomi smartwatches, and also proceeded to update the watch to its latest firmware straight away, which although unfortunately took up a little bit of a while, I thought was pretty cool. Even after the application was done, the watch still continued to update itself, this time updating the AGPS software. So yeah, more waiting ensued. Now that the watch is fully updated and working, let's head into settings and change it into English. Okay, let's head into settings and change it into English. Right, okay, so unfortunately I have a Chinese model and so I don't actually have the option to select English as my language of choice. But you know, I would assume that by the time you get this internationally, that it is possible to change it into English. I just hope that I have the option to update my firmware to do that as well. In the meantime, you guys will just have to bear with me as I run through the majority of this with a Chinese UI on my watch. Let's talk a little bit about that UI then. On the main watch face, you can long press it to change your watch face. Swiping left and right does the same thing of scrolling between your watch face to the activity status tracker, the heart rate monitor, Alipay, and finally any of your added NFC cards. Further tapping to any of these screens will bring you into their individual respective applications. Swiping down from the top, you have the option to use your watch as a flashlight, a sleep icon that lets you, set some do not disturb modes, a sun icon where you can turn on and off the ambient light sensor, as well as set the display brightness, a lock icon that prevents any touches from your watch until you press the crown on the right to unlock it. Swiping up from the bottom gives you a list of apps, and going through them in order, you have status, where you can see your activity history, heart rate to measure you and track your heart rate, workout to log and track your workout, activities that I'm guessing just shows you your last activities. Weather, where you can obviously see your local weather. Music, that is pretty much a media remote for your phone. Notifications, where you can get any of your phone's notifications. Alarm, that sets off the alarm in your entire neighborhood. Nah, just kidding, just sets a vibration alarm for you. Event reminder, that gives you reminders that you set on your phone. And finally, cards, where you can access your added NFC cards. There is a more button that you can tap on where you can see other apps like a compass, a stopwatch, a timer, and an option to find your phone by making it ring, and Alipay. Finally, we have settings where you can change your watch face, set the display timeout in seconds, set what application launches when you long press the crown, and finally, information on your watch, where you'll find stuff like the software information as well as the ability to turn off the watch, restart it, or just factory reset it. On the note of that crown though, pressing it just turns your display on and off, and well, long pressing it, as I mentioned before, just opens up your application of choice. Now, I know that I've mentioned a lot about the applications on the watch itself, but majority of them can actually be done on the Amazfit app, and in fact some of these applications even need your phone to set up. So let's take a look at what the app can do. Your first option is watch face settings, which gives you an even larger selection of watch faces to choose from. Transit card, which I suspect only works in China, where you can add any of your transit NFC cards into your watch. Create access card, which is essentially the same thing, except that this time, if let's say you live in an apartment complex or condominium, or maybe an office that uses NFC contact cards to get in, you can add them into the watch itself so that you don't have to reach into your wallet each time. I didn't manage to get this working, however. Unlock screen, where you can use your smartwatch to unlock your phone's lock screen. Incoming call, where you can set if you want to get incoming call information on your watch. Event reminders, and this is actually where you actually have to set your event reminders to appear on your watch. Watch alarms, which should also be pretty self-explanatory. Any alarms you set here will obviously ring on your watch. App alerts, which sends any push notifications that appear on your phone to your watch. Idle alert, which tells you if perhaps you need to get up and walk a little bit more because you've been on your bum for too long. Incoming SMS alerts, which is self-explanatory, and go notifications, which should also be self-explanatory. Just like how you can use your watch to find your phone, conversely, you can also use your phone to find your watch in the Find Watch option. Though I did find it to be pretty useless, as it just vibrates the watch since there are no speakers on the watch at all. Discoverable makes it so that the watch can be seen on Bluetooth, though I'm not too sure why you would want this. Activity heart rate sharing, which is kind of like an Internet of Things, function that shares your heart rate with any other connected devices. Band location, where you can set if you wear your watch on your left or right wrist. Lift wrist to view info, that, well, I guess is also pretty self-explanatory, aka have the watch light up when you lift your wrist to look at it. Heart rate detection, where you can set if you would like the watch to continuously monitor your heart rate or sleep patterns. Find phone ringtone, where you can set the ringtone that plays when you find your phone on your watch, and run in the background. That is a setting that allows you to configure your phone so that it allows the Amazfit app to run in the background without getting killed by the memory management process. So going into watch display settings, now remember how I talked about how you can simply swipe up from the bottom of the smartwatch to see a list of applications on your watch? Well, in this menu you can actually define what you want to be able to see. So maybe if there's something which you don't use very often, or maybe you would just like to hide it, you can do so in this menu. Weather settings should be pretty self-explanatory. You can set the city in which you're living in, as well as set the temperature units to display it in. So unless you're living in the US of A, you're probably going to want to set this to Celsius, just like the rest of the world. Pairing restrictions sounds pretty interesting because it almost sounds as if multiple people with their respective profiles on their phones can actually use the same watch. And finally, you can check for updates as well as see your firmware information and the Bluetooth address for your watch. The semi-irritating thing about this app though is that there is a constant notification that the watch is connected or disconnected. I don't really know why this is there. Like, does it really need to be shown without an option to dismiss it? I don't really know, but at least in the newer versions of Android, there is an option to disable these kinds of notifications. The one thing about using this operating system though that I miss from Wear OS is definitely the smoothness and fluidity when navigating around the watch. I mean, Wear OS by all means isn't all that smooth, but this watch in general just looks and feels just a bit too laggy or choppy or unresponsive for my liking. And I mean, it's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it definitely reminds you that you've bought a budget smartwatch. Unfortunately, there isn't an option to turn on an always on display, but I did have it check my heart rate every 30 minutes or so, and well, send any calls and message push notifications to my watch. So, in day-to-day use, how was the battery life on the Amazfit GTS? Well, in terms of official numbers, Huami says that it should last 14 days of consistent usage, 46 days of basic mode, and 25 hours of non-stop GPS and heart rate monitoring. Well, that's fine and all, but how does it really stack up in terms of real-world numbers? Well, let's just say that it's been over 2 weeks and the battery life is still at 50%. I have full confidence that I can go on for weeks without needing to charge the watch at all, and that is honestly amazing because I can't say the same for any of the Wear OS watches that I own. One of the biggest things as well is being able to go on jogs or hikes and turn on the workout tracking that uses the GPS and not have the watch die after an hour or two, which is exactly what happens when I use a Wear OS watch. There is a problem though. I never managed to get all notifications to appear on my watch at all. Only my SMSs appeared. I'm not too sure if this is an issue with the phone's OS, with my watch, but either way I wasn't able to get any notifications sent to my watch. So yeah, this watch the entire time just ended up being more of a workout and heart rate monitor, basically just a fitness tracker. So yeah, there's a trade-off for that really good battery life. In the event that you do need to charge the watch, however, it does so extremely quickly as you can charge completely up from 0 to 100% in about 2 hours. It's time to drop my conclusions, and I think that this watch has left me with a bit of mixed feelings. This is because it comes in at 899 yuan or about 125 USD, which means that it has quite a lot of competition that I've looked at before. I really like how slim the watch is and how beautiful it looks, the really nice display on that square classy body, and yeah, you know what, I know that it looks like an Apple Watch. And of course, that battery life. But to me, if smartwatches were already limited in what they could do in terms of enhancing your digital life without being obtrusive, the Huami Amazfit GTS dials that back even further to the point where it almost even felt as if it was an ornamental piece, for me at least, rather than a smartwatch. Maybe I'm spoiled by Wear OS, but I like being able to receive my phone's notifications and, reply directly to it, having everything sync to Google Fit, and I mean Google in general, including my reminders, the Google Keep, Google Calendar, that I found it very difficult to get used to this watch. I also didn't get any of Google's voice-assisted services, and that was honestly a bit of a bummer. In a perfect world, you could get a good-looking smartwatch with really good battery life and perfect integration with your smartphone, but in the meantime, since we don't have that, you probably do have to make a choice. If you prefer a watch where you can completely get your notifications from, read and reply messages, have your calendars, reminders, and meetings all synced to your phone effortlessly, then you'd probably want to look elsewhere. If, however, a watch for you is more like a fashion piece or a fashion statement and things like workout tracking and heart rate monitoring are important to you, and maybe you want to go on really long excursions where you don't have to worry about charging at all, then honestly I think that the Amazfit GTS would definitely be a good match for you. Case in point, my wife has seen the TicWatch E2, and while I like it, she doesn't, but when she saw this watch, she loved it so much that she has pretty much claimed it as hers. So yeah, that happened. As for me though, at least for now, unless I'm going hiking or jogging or exercising in general, I think that I'll be sticking to Wear OS watches. Or maybe I should check out other watches from the likes of maybe Samsung or something, you know, I don't know, who knows. So it's a really nice watch, but maybe just not one for someone like me. I don't know, what do you guys think? Drop a comment down below to let me know what you think. And yeah, don't forget to drop a like on this video if you liked it. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook and click on the bell icon to get notified for when any of my new videos go live. This is Yang, the Tech Rodent, and I will see you guys in the next one.